Okay, you're up to pay Bay's Amid Aleph. I think it's going to be rather a quick daf today. Right? Pay Bay Amid Aleph. The Mishnah was discussing that if you had two trees or three trees, what would the difference be? So we said one of the differences is that when you have two trees, you don't get, not according to Rameh, according to Chachamim, you don't get land. All he has is the trees. So your land is meshubah to make sure those trees are there. Then Mela, if the trees grow out and cover your land, you're unable to go ahead on and cut them. And even though they're being masik you because the shade of the branches is hurting your agriculture underneath that area, nonetheless, since your land is meshubed to the tree, you can't cut it. Conversely, if it was three, you would be able to cut it. So another halacha was that if it grows from the roots or it grows from the trunk of the tree itself, right? If it grows from the roots or it grows from the trunk of the tree itself, if it grows from the trunk of the tree, either way, whether you have karka or you don't have karka, it's going to belong to the owner of the tree. If it grows from the roots, then it depends. If it's two trees, then if it grows from the roots, it's going to be to the bala karka, because after all, it's from the roots, it's from the ground, and the owner of the tree only owns the tree. On the other hand, if it's three trees, and the owner of the tree would get that as well, because he owns the karka that this new appendage is growing in. Okay, so we're going to discuss that a little bit. So right away, the Gemara tells you what we're discussing. We're not discussing the extensions that are growing out and covering the branches covering the land. We're discussing the extended from the tree itself. Something's growing out from the tree itself, right? So something's growing out from the tree itself. What's the halacha? So hechi dami min hageza, hechi dami min hashrashim. What exactly is the mitzias of it growing out of the trunk of the tree or growing out from the roots of the tree? That can make the distinction between two trees and three trees. Rabbi Yochanan, says Rabbi Yochanan, kol sheroi pnei achama zeu min hageza. Anything that is exposed to the sun, anything that's exposed to the sun that the sun can see it, that is considered min hageza, and that would belong to the Baal, a tree. Baal Ilan. However, if it doesn't see pnei achama, meaning it's under the ground and it's not seen by the sun, zeu min hashrashim. That's min hashrashim, and that would be an nafkamina between two trees and three trees, right? If it's two trees, then that would belong to the Bala Karka. If it's three trees, it would belong to the Bala Ilan. Fred the Gemara, let's have a possible problem over here. V'leichesh dilma, maska ara sirtin. Okay, let's say that the land will give up earth, and it's going to cover it up. The amalei, and the Baal Elam will say, tilsa zerinously. In other words, this root, if it's covered, if the geza is covered up with dirt, it'll look like there's a third tree over there. I guess it has to be within the dimensions that we will see. So you might think there's a third tree over there. The Islay Ara, and then I have what? And then I have land. In other words, you're giving this geza to the Baal. You're giving this geza to the Baal Elan. If it grows what? If it grows outside the tree. Let's be concerned, perhaps, that what's going to happen is that earth is going to come up. The earth will come up. It'll cover that area, and as a result, you'll think there's three trees over there. Okay. Says, let's see the Rashbam here, guys. We have a lot of Lechesh Zimna Damasik, certain. Even the Amit, Minageza, Hainu Kol Shua Pnei Achama, anything that sees the sun is considered part of it's considered the owner of the tree. Vafilu Samach Lakarka, even if it's near the ground. Now, as long as the sun shines upon it, as long as it's considered the part of the tree, and the owner would get it. The owner of the tree would get it. So in other words, you view a tree, guys. Look, I have a tree. I could have a geza that's over here, that goes to the tree. I have a geza over here that goes to the tree. Now the geza over here, since the sun is over here, the sun shines on it here, the sun shines on it here, it goes to the tree. Now what happens if, let's say, dirt would come over here in this low area, and looks like what? There's another tree growing out. Then all of a sudden, the Bala Elon's going to get karka, which he's not entitled to. He's going to get karka that he's not entitled to, and that's why it continues the Rashbam. And Then Cain, Hechi Tikkun Rabbana and Milsa, how can the Rabbana go ahead and make a takana? The Isbu Moichel de Peseda that'll come to what? The Peseda to the seller. For Hazimnin Sheyesh Elon Echa B'Toich Sada Shel Chaveroi. V'am Rabbanan Da Yotzim and Agesa Shaloi. Umaska Aras Sirtun V'Tagbe HaKarka, and it's going to cover it up. Achet Elon HaYotzim and Agesa. Mitzosle B'Karka. V'Yiru Kishleishe Elonis, and it'll appear like there's three trees. And they have to say that it's the dimensions that we're going to see Basra Hashem soon, that three trees have to be within those three dimensions to be considered a stay Elon. And will fool him. That'll have karka. So in other words, in short, why would the Chachamim allow this person to keep in existence a tree that's growing out of near the bottom of this tree? This might lend itself to making a harama, making a trick, and saying there's three trees instead of two trees, and then you'll get the karka. What the Chachamim should have done is as soon as it grows, cut it, so we don't have to worry about that. Cut. In other words, this belongs to you. Cut it. It's yours, and now I don't have to worry about the harama that maybe you're going to go ahead and say I have three trees, and thus I'm shaykh to karka. Thus I'm shaykh to karka. So why didn't the Chachamim go ahead and why they make a takana that can come to what to come to a trick? So let's see the words inside again one time. Fred the Gemara, you're telling me v'leichish. Let's be suspicious. Dilma maska ara sirtin. Maybe the land will bring up sirtin, like dirt, and we'll have a new appendage growing near the tree, near the bottom of the tree, which sees the pnei chama, and that's the key. And since it sees pnei chama, it's shaykh to the balat tree. V'amalei, and now the balat tree will say, Tilsa zivinously, you sold me three trees, v'eslei ara, because it's considered a steilan. And so what should they have said? They should have said, cut that, so we don't have to worry about that. Elam Rav Nachman, yikaitz, enachinami, cut it. V'chinam Rav Yochanan, yikaitz, cut it. It belongs to you, but don't keep it around. We don't want to go ahead and come to some time of trickery. Okay? Don't keep it around. We don't want to come to some type of harama. That's what it's saying. Continues the Gemara. Rav Nachman, naktinon. Naktinon always means we have a Messiah. We have a Messiah. Dekel ein le geza. A dekel does not have a geza. A tree that is a palm tree does not have the halacha of geza. Now the havamina is that it's not that in mitzias you can't have it. It's halachally you can't have it. Because here's Sav Rav Zvid Lameimar. Rav Zvid said the following: Ein le geza. It doesn't have a geza that if a person sells a dekel to his friend and it comes out, le shaykh le bala dekel, it doesn't go to him. The kivon de le machber ule sharish koi, since the whole tree, we know, guys, it doesn't regenerate, fellas, right? Remember the Mishnah, two trees that don't regenerate was the cedar tree and the palm tree. So if you go ahead and have one palm tree and you have no karka, you no matter what, you're going to uproot it from the ground and get it, correct? So since I own this tree and I know this tree is in existence as long as it's alive, I'm masach my das. I'd have tesach hadas from anything that's going to come out of this tree because I know the tree is being oimid to be uprooted. It says no, since it's gonna, if it dries out, it's going to be uprooted and I'm going to have to take it away. Asuch mesach daite, I mesach my das from what? From the geza. So Rav Zvid's holding the following, fellas. It's not pshat. A palm tree can't have something growing out of it. It could, but the owner has hesach hadas. The owner of the tree has hesach hadas. Since the whole tree is there just until it dries out, he has no kavanah to go ahead and be kaina anything that comes out of this tree. So it's not a physical mitzias that you won't have anything. It's a mindset. Since this tree doesn't regenerate, and therefore once it's dried out, it's gone. He's mesech das from the tree, and therefore the appendage doesn't count. Maskal Rapapa, Freg Rapapa, the Koine Shnei Lonos. if a person, according to the Chachamim, acquires 2 trees, not palm trees, any trees, these trees, fellas, since you don't have karka, they're oimit to be uprooted. There's no difference between a palm tree and a regular tree if there's no karka. Once there's no karka, what does that mean? You can't replant it if it dies. So what does that mean? You have to uproot it. What did our Mishnah say? Our Mishnah said, in a case where what? You have 2 trees, and it grows what? It grows an appendage. If it's on the tree, it goes to the bala tree. But 1 second, according to your Rebbe Zavid, the bala tree, since it's standing to be uprooted, should have been hefesachadas. He should have forgotten about it. Rapop is upslugging Rebbe Zavid's svara. Again, what's Rebbe Zavid's svara? Since this tree, the decal tree, it dries out, it's gone. So therefore he forgets about it, and therefore anything that grows from it doesn't count. You see from the Mishnah that that's not true, because 2 trees are also being oimit to be uprooted because there's no karka. Memela, when it says there's a geza and it belongs to the bala tree, but 1 second, al-chari, the bala tree, according to your Rebbe Zavid, should have been mesech das, since the 2 trees are going to be uprooted. But you see, it's not true, because you see, you made a chilik between the appendage going out of the tree and the appendage going out of the roots. Says the Gemara, Maskul Rapapa, Koina Shnei Alonis, the Machber Ulamishri Kaimi, 2 trees where you don't have karka, they're oimit to go ahead and be uprooted. The Ketani, we said, the Yeshle Geza, it has Geza. Ela Omra Papa, Ein Le Geza, you know what that means? Lebala Dekel, Vishe Ein, it's not normal. That's Maitzi Geza. It's not normal. That what? That a Geza goes ahead and it's not normal. Okay, guys, in the Kasha and in the Teretz, said Rav Nachman Adin. Said Rav Nachman, there is no halacha of Geza when it comes to what? To the palm tree. Meaning it doesn't belong to the owner of the tree. It doesn't belong to the owner of the tree. What was the svara of that? Rabbi Zavid suggested the svara is Hesach Hadas, that the owner of the tree doesn't expect anything to come from here. Why? Why? Not because physically in Mitzias it can't grow, but because a person, since this tree eventually is going to dry out and he's going to have to uproot it, so he's Mesach Hadas that anything is going to come to him from this tree. Freg Rab Papa from my Mishnah, I'll show you an exact same case, and we see a person's not Mesach Hadas. What's the exact same case? 2 regular trees. 2 regular trees, you don't get the ground. If you don't get the ground, it's there. You have to get rid of the trees if they die. And nonetheless, we said if it grows the geza it grows from the stock of the tree in itself, then what? You get it. So you see, it's not true what you're saying, Rabbi Zvid. It's not true. So Ella, so what did Rav Nachman therefore mean that dekalain like geza? Because in Mitzias, you don't have a geza. Guys, where does it grow from? It grows from the top of the tree. Palm trees don't grow anything on the sides. Palm trees go everything on the top. So they're not growing from the stock of the tree itself. So Memela, that's what Rav Nachman said. In the geza, in Mitzias, there's no geza. Okay, in Mitzias, there's no geza. Now, Rav Zvid, he said a pshat. What does he do with our Mishnah? Guys, like Rav Zvid, his svara is, guys, look at me. Guys, look at me. Rav Zvid's svara is that since this tree is going to be uprooted, this has a chadas. So how does he learn pshat in the Mishnah that if there's only 2 trees, that the person is entitled to the appendage growing out of the tree? According to him, you should have been mesach das. So Rabbi Zavid is an Amoiri, he can't argue in the Mishnah. And for the Gemara, Rabbi Zavid, right? Kasha mas nisan. His svara is kasha from our Mishnah. You see, a person is not mesach hadas because you do get the geza. Says the Gemara, this is in the Chamishnin. There is speaking about what he bought the rights for 5 years. So therefore, he bought the right for 5 years. Meaning, let's say the tree dried up in 3 years. He doesn't have to uproot the tree; he can replant itself. In other words, he's left over rights. And therefore, since he left over right, he's not mesach das. And Memela, anything growing out of the tree itself would belong to the Bala Elon. So he says the Mishnah speaking in Ukimta. Einachinami, if it was a regular case, you wouldn't get anything. The Bala Bias won't get any. The Bala Elon won't get anything because he would have had Hesach Hadas. He would have not thought about it at all. But since he bought the rights for 5 years, that means he has the right, even though it's going to die within those 5 years, he could replant it. Memela, there's no hesach hadas, and therefore what? Therefore, he would be able to get the appendage from the tree. Okay, the next thing of the Mishnah was kana shloisha. If you kana shloisha, kana karka. If you kana 3 trees, you get karka. Now the question is, how much karka do you get? You kana 3 trees, how much karka do you get? So, Rav Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Yochanan. Names are important. Rav Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Yochanan. I was a kana tachtehen. You get underneath the tree. Ubeinayim, between the trees. V'chutz lahen, and outside the trees. What's that considered? Considered kimloi oire v'saloi. Says the Rashbam, oire means a picker. Hamalake v'saloi biyadoi. Hamalake, the picker, the harvester, and in his hands is a sal. Lalake peiros, hanoifos, hachitzoinus, from the outside branches. Okay? And Rashbam tells you that in different places it's called different things. The next Rashbam. Kimoli oire v'saloi, achutz lehen koi, outside. Harvesting is by oire means you harvest figs. Boitzer ba'anovim. Boitzer is the lashon when you harvest grapes. The koitzer b'tfua. Koitzer is harvesting crops. The mean like wheat, rye, spelt, barley. The goyder b'tamarim. Goyder is the lashon used by dates. Umoisik is the term used by zaysim. Malakid is b'shar ilanais. Malak is by other ilanais. So Rashbam is giving you a little etymology of the words of harvesting depending upon the crop. We use different words. So the word oira is to malakid, is the lesson of malake peris. So now the shear you get is underneath the tree, and around the tree where a guy can stand and have his basket in order to harvest the crops. Okay, that's our Mishnah. 3 trees, you get that area. 3 trees, you get that area. Maskevlo Rebbe Laza, hashta derech ein loy, oira v'sala yesh loy. Derech ein loy, the arach ritahi, oira v'sala yesh loy. What's going on over here? Okay, we have to go back in time. Something about when a person sells, he sells ba'ayin ra or ba'ayin toiv. Let's see Rashbam. Maskal Rabbi Laza, the Rabbi Yochanan, the Yohiv l'derech chutza lehen, says Rabbi Laza to his Rabbi Yochanan, that you go ahead and you give the owner of the tree who has 3 trees. You're going to give them such a large area, the chutza lehen kimale oyer v'salo, outside of the tree, the area that the picker should stand with his sal, to walk around and gather his peiros. When he bought the rights to the trees, he was not given a path to get to the trees. He'd have to fly, or he'd have to buy away. Like the Shitas of the Chachamim, the moiches abayis, the amin gabi moiche bor vidus. The guy goes ahead and sells a bor vidus water cisterns. The ayin ra moicher. He's going to have to go ahead and, right? Guys, if you go ahead and you sell a bor vidus, do you get a derech or not? Says Rabbi Akiva, yes, because a person sells ba'ayin yafa. Says Rabbi the Chachamim, no, that a person says ba'ayin ra. So now, if these trees have the same din as the bor vidus, fellas. A bor vidus are a makam choshev b'fnei atzmain. These 3 trees are considered state elon, and you get karka. They're considered a makam choshev b'fnei atzmain. Therefore, they're not part of the sale. So, Rabbi Elazar kashet Rabbi Yochanan. Rabbi Yochanan, I don't understand. When you sold the land, you sold ba'ayin ra, to the extent that the guy does not have a way to get to his trees. You're telling me around the trees he gave so much? We're going to give the minimal amount. In other words, you'd have to be underneath the tree or go on top of the tree to harvest. I'm going to leave you the most minimal amount because I'm selling you ba'ayin ra, and you're telling me this harvacha of malay oire v'salai. It's such a large area. Again, one more time. Pashtus, the halacha is like the chachamim. That a person sells, he sells ba'ayin ra. Therefore, if a person sells a bar vidus, we saw earlier in the Masechta, the other person has to buy a derech to get there because the person did not sell in that derech. A person is now selling 3 trees. 3 trees, you get karka because it's a sadeh. Says Rabbi Yochanan, you're getting quite a bit of karka. You're getting underneath the tree, between the trees, and an area we can walk around and pick. Says Rabbi Laz, I don't understand. Shitas Chachamim is that we're selling what ba'ayin ra. Ad kedei kach, that you would have no way of getting to these trees unless you bought a derech. Therefore, if I'm selling you ba'ayin ra, I could assure you I'm not selling you so much land that it's mali or v'salai. It wouldn't be like that. L'chayru, all you would get what is either underneath the tree or and harvest on top of the tree. That's the lashon. Look at the next Rashbam. Kimali or v'salai. Shein tzarich le kol kach. You don't need so much. Kimay derech, right? Kimay derech yeshloi bit miyah. Hari efshel lalois be'ilan. You're able to go up into the tree. Ululakait inami mitachta v'ilakait. In other words, what are you going to tell me? You need land to go ahead and harvest? There's other ways you could harvest. Stand directly underneath the tree or go to the top of the tree and knock down the produce. So the kasha is on Rabbi Yochanan. If you go ahead and hold that a meicher sells ba'ayin ra, why in the world would you be getting so much land? That's the kasha. Succinctly. Maskal Rabbi Laza, hash the derech ein loi, oir v'sala yesh loi. Derech ein loi, the arach ritahi. Oir v'sala yesh loi. Rav Zeira, Medibra Rabbeinu Nilmad, says, Rav Zeira, from the words of our Rebbe, Rav Elazar, we learn, Shleishahu de ein loi derech. A shleisha, you don't have a derech because you have your own land. A shnayim yesh loi, but if you only sold 2, guys, if you only sold 2, then the guy would have a derech. Again, your land is meshubet to the trees. He has no land. When he has land, he doesn't have a derech. When he doesn't have land, that's the same thing as the branches going out, that you can't cut them because your land is meshubet to the trees. Of here also, you're meshubet to let this guy get to the trees. The amalei ba'ardi doch kaimei, because you could say it's on your land. It's what it's standing. Omer Rav Nachman Yitzchak l'Rava, Leimer Rebbe Laza, less late the Shmuel Rabbi. Let's say Rebbe Laza from his question does not hold like Shmuel is Rebbe. Dama Shmuel halacha k'Rebbe Akiva. Shmuel says halacha is like Rebbe Akiva. The Omar moicha ba'ayin yafa moicher. Rebbe Laza, Rebbe. It was Rebbe was Rabbi Yochanan. I don't know. It says over here his Rebbe was Shmuel. He could have learned by Shmuel as well, I guess. When he asked this question and said the guy doesn't get a derech, that's predicated upon that you hold like the Chachamim that a person sells ba'ayin ra. If you would have hold like Rabbi Akiva, then you wouldn't have a kasha. If you would have hold like Rabbi Akiva, then you wouldn't have a kasha. Why? Because Rabbi Akiva is of the opinion that a person goes ahead and sells ba'ayin yafa. So he would have sold him what? The derech. So he would have sold him the derech. Then you're talking also. He would have sold him kimole over v'sala. He would have sold him that large area. From the question, we can go ahead and extricate that what? That he must hold like the Chachamim. As I read the Gemara. Amalei, right? He says that he sells what ba'ayin yafa. Okay. So Amalei. So Rava said to Rav Nachman by Yitzchak. Rava said to Rav Nachman by Yitzchak that Rabbi Elazar could hold like Shmuel is Rebbe, who passes like Rabbi Akiva. But the shverkai was that our Mishnah cannot be like Rabbi Akiva. In other words, he could hold like that, but Pshat in the Mishnah can hold like that. Dama Shmuel lach Rabbi Akiva. Dama moicha ba'ayin yafa moicha. Amalei. So Amalei. So who's talking to who? Amalei Rava said to Rav Nachman by Yitzchak, "Le'metukum astis and Rabbi Akiva." He could hold like him, but our Mishnah is not like him. Mimai me'diktani higdilu yashper. The Mishnah said if it gets bigger, you can cut it off. V'yisak daik Rabbi Akiva he amay yashper. Ha'ama moicha ba'ayin yafa moicha. So l'chari seldom the rights that the tree, if it grows out, it should be able to remain there. The fact that you can cut it off shows it must hold like the Chachamim. The fact that he said you can cut it off must be holds like the Chachamim, because like Rabbi Akiva, you should be able to go ahead and keep the branches over there. So Amalei, Rav Nachman Yitzchak told Rava, Eimod Rabbi Akiva. When does Rabbi Akiva say a person sells ba'ayin yafa? That's dafka gabi bar v'dus. The loy mach sheyara. It's no, it doesn't affect his land if the bar is there. and therefore he sells ba'ayin yafa, and he doesn't leave himself what? He doesn't leave himself a derech, because again, there's no effect. But Gabi Elon Misham Alei, where do you hear that Rabbi Akiva would hold by an Elon that you sell ba'ayin yafa? Where do you hold by Rabbi Akiva that he would sell by ba'ayin yafa? Mila Maida Rabbi Akiva would Rabbi Akiva not be Maida be Elon Hanoite l'techsada chaverai, that an Elon whose branches are going into his friend's field, that Mole Mardeya Me'al Gabe Machresha, as we saw this in Perikle Yachba. If you have the branches over here, and now I'm unable to go ahead and work because my oxen can't pass, he said you cut it off. You can cut it off. So even though Rabbi Kiva holds Ayin Yafa, if it's going to impede my working, he holds that what? He holds you can cut it off. That Moli Mardas is an ox code, Me'al Gabi Machrisha. So you're able to do that. So therefore, the Mishnah by the three can also be going according to Rabbi Kiva. The Mishnah also could be according to Rabbi Kiva. What's your kasha? That it goes according to the Chachamim when it says you cut it off. Rabbi Kiva also be moide. If it's being masik, if the sale is being masik, you can go ahead and cut it off. The same way you can cut it off if the branch is impeding me from being able to work my plow. You can cut it off because it's being masik my land because the sun is not shining there. And so therefore, the Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Akiva. So therefore you have no heichacha that what was your heichacha? You wanted to say that he doesn't hold like Rabbi Akiva's Rebbe because of the Mishnah. You have no heichacha. Could be he does. He could be he does hold like him because the Mishnah goes according to Rabbi Akiva. Says the Gemara, Tanya Kavase to Reb Chia bar Abba. You have a brisa that's a raya to Reb Chia bar Abba, who said, guys, Amid Aleph, pay base Amid Aleph. 2 lines from the bottom. Reb Chia bar Abba, Rabbi Yochanan, how he said, Kona tachteim v'bneiim v'chutz lehen kimoli arav v'saloi. So you're bringing a raya to that's the amount of land he gets, right? That's the amount of land he gets. What's the brisa say? I said, pretty much openly, guys, right? Tanya Gavas Reb Chia bar Abba. Harry said, Kana, he acquires, how much does he get? Tachteim underneath the trees, ubeneim in between the trees, v'chutz lehem and outside the trees, kimoli oyer v'saloi. So pretty much exactly verbatim what Reb Chia bar Abba said. That's the amount of if you coin a karka by having 3 trees, that's the amount of karka you'll get. That area, could you plant? Who plants it? The Elon or the Balkarka? We're going to have a Mishnah later on. You have an inside garden and an outside garden, and the inside garden has a path to the outside garden. Who can plant the path? We said the outside garden. So too over here, we'll say the Balakarka, not the Bala Elon, should be able to plant. Abul Hacha says Amalei, so he told him you have no raya. Said Rabbi Yosef to Abaya, you want to bring a raya that the Balakarka can plant, you have no raya. Midami, chasam over there by the 2 ginois, lest they say the Lakeach. Lakeach, it's no big spitz of his back. It's just the derech to get to his field. So Mamela, the Lakeach can go ahead and plant there. Avul Hacha, Islay Psei the Lakeach, is a Psei to the obari of the trees. The Amalei, Matafni Peri, you're making my Peris dirty. Pirish, guys. We wanted to compare the following. Look at me. Here's a garden, and here's a garden, and here's a path going to the garden, right? So we said this guy over here, the outside garden, can plant this path. So too over here, if this is a tree and this is his karka, the karka, the plant goes to this guy. Says Rabbi Yosef, that was what Abaya said to Rabbi Yosef. Rabbi Yosef said there's no raya. Over here by the garden, this is just a means to get to the garden, but it's not a hefsid if this guy plants over here. Mashenkin, if you have a tree over here, and the tree is growing over here, and his fruit's going to fall on the place that he planted, it's going to be Bashmutz's fruits, it's going to be bad for his fruits. So over here, in fact, it's not a good sushtel. It could be that this guy can't plant because this guy has a taina. My fruit is going to be falling on your crop, and it's going to mess up my fruit, mess up my fruit. The damalei kametafni piri. So holadamya, what's similar to el seifa. The seifa where we'll see in the Mishnah over there. They both don't have rishus. Right? So therefore, both No one has rishus this open area where the sal is, where the picker can walk. No one has rishus to plant, similar to the sefer of that Mishnah inside the test. Tani Kabasi Dabaya, his pshat that no one has rishus, not like right. Tani Kabasi Dabaya, Harizakona Tachteim Leneim Lechutz Lehem, Kimole Oira V'Saloi. Again, that's the writer of Chia Barabba, and indeed V'Zeh V'Zeh Ein Rishayin L'Zayra. Neither one has rishus to plant. Neither one has rishus to plant. I'm going to stop over here.